have mercy. Okay, we should be live now, I hope, or I'm going to probably have to be approved here again. Okay. All right. So I should be back on. So sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. So I hope that you guys see the new take two. Um, Here we go. So I see myself live. Sorry, you guys. There we go. So sorry. So I hope that you guys see the new take two. Okay, I keep getting messages after message saying, "Yeah, I know. I know that I had a mess here." Decisions and old memories. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. I am so sorry, you guys. I cannot stand it when I have technical difficulties like this. It makes me crazy. All right. So I'm going to go back to the top really quickly, and then we are going to go from there. All right. So get back into your skinny jeans. Day two, take two. Here we go. All is good in the hood. Hormonal Nutrition 101. We're going to dive into nutrition that encourages a leaner physique, more energy, curbed cravings. And we're going to talk hormones and your physiology first. I mentioned yesterday and even tonight, if you were in the first trial here, that hormones are like humans, and depending on the environment that they're in, will depend on how they respond and react and the things that they do. So, hence the reason why I posted the toga party versus the black tie event. People act much differently in the environment that they're in. Same thing with hormones. So, when you eat something, just make sure that you're thinking to yourself, how is this going to affect me on a hormonal level? Okay. So, just want to bring that up to your attention once again. So, this is where I got cut off last time. And this is where I talk about your belief systems and everything that the way that you make your choices, and maybe even your habits and patterns, as far, not maybe, but definitely your habits and patterns, and the way that you operate in your life, and the decisions that you make, the choices of food that you make, all of that stuff has so much to do with your internal stories that you have going on. So we take information, we run it through our own values, our belief systems, our decisions and memories. We create our internal representations of situations, and then hence that creates that state of mind, creates a different physiology, which creates that output of our behavior. Meaning that, the example would be an internal representation would be something tragic happens in your family, creates a state of mind of, severe emotions, sadness, things like that. That then creates a physiology, triggers emotional eating most of the time, and therefore we put ourselves in this vicious cycle often. Most of the time, people are stress eaters, emotional eaters, things like that. All right. So moving on, we are going into, I want to talk about the autonomic nervous system, which is your sympathetic versus your parasympathetic. Now, before I move forward, I just want to make sure that we are not letting me in. Okay. I'm not really sure why she's saying that. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I am good with this live before I proceed. Um, let's see here. All right. My apologies for those of you that are here. I just want to make sure that I'm not just talking and talking to nobody, you know what I mean? So just want to make sure that we're good. Okay. I think we are. Let me just pop this in here. Okay, we're good. Thursday 2. I'm just looking for my live. There we go. Okay. All right, there we are. All right, so the autonomic nervous system, which we have the parasympathetic and then we have the sympathetic. So, Kristen, if you're watching, can you private message me and just like tell me if everything is running and going? Um, so your parasympathetic, which I'm showing on the left-hand side, that's more of your rest and digest. And I briefly talked about this last night, and I talked about how it's more of your peaceful musa type of a mode. That this is where you're in alignment, that your body is like, oh, okay. It's more in a place of wanting to release weight and more in a place of saying, okay, everything is going to be all right. So, as I had mentioned last night, that when it comes to thank you, Kristen, when it comes to your body, if you are not hormonally balanced, if you are not in a good place hormonally, then your body is, we have to remember it is a very, very, very ancient machine that has evolved over millions of years, right? And so you have to remember that when when us humans would go into this sympathetic fight or flight mode, it was for a very short amount of time. It was like when we had to run from a tiger, back millions of years ago or whatever, right? But now most of the world, as you see, I have the arrow here, most of the world is living in this sympathetic fight or flight mode on a constant. So instead of these two kind of balancing out all day long, most people are up here on this. They think it's honorable to have this constant go, 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 do, 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 busy badge, if they don't feel this tremendous pressure cooking type of stress, that they feel guilty, like they're a loser and they're not performing in the way that they should be. And that is a story, that is a lie, and that is definitely something that is not serving you well. It is actually definitely working against you. So if you're somebody that is operating in this mode, which means like you're getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, you're go, 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 do, do, do. You're not giving your time to take a nap, maybe meditate for a few minutes a day, take a deep breath, sit down and eat dinner. You're just constantly going. And you're wondering why you're not losing weight. Okay. It's because your body is in that fight or flight mode constantly. So your body is basically like fighting for its life. Okay. So, what state of emotions do you think each option provides? So, if we were to go back to this, I want to see some of your answers in the comments. What are some emotions that you think might come up when it comes to the rest and digest versus the sympathetic? So if I gave you a blank piece of paper, what kind of state of emotion do you think each option would provide? So if we go on let's talk about the parasympathetic, right? That would be more of your wusa. That's more of relaxation mode. That's more of your rest and digest, right? So what type of emotions and feelings do you think come along with living in that mode? And just throw out a couple answers. I'm very, very curious to see. Then I want you to put out a couple or just, an answer about what you think would be under option two. If you're constantly stress mode, if you're constantly in that sympathetic, what type of feelings do you think come with living in that particular mode? Don't be shy. There's no, bad answers. And I'm going to continue to move forward. I'll scroll back and kind of check out what you commented. But I'm going to move forward to the next slide, and I am going to share some of the emotions and feelings and so on and so forth that go with each mode. Right. So again, you want to remember that the parasympathetic is more of your relaxation, rest and digest, giving your body that, it's okay, everything's going to be all right. And then the sympathetic, I'm busy, 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 I am go, 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 do, do, do. And you just don't give yourself a break. That's very, very, very type A. It's very masculine. Masculine energy is extremely exhausting. Parasympathetic is more of your feminine, flowy energy. Okay. So if you've ever heard of masculine versus feminine, this is definitely a good example of that. Okay. So go ahead and please put some of your comments in. I would love to see what you have to say. So here are some of the examples that I'm providing for you. So your different states of emotions when you're in that parasympathetic, when you're really loving yourself, when you really have loving thoughts and feelings, and you're really paying attention to yourself and really nurturing yourself and caring for yourself, you're happy. It's a happiness and hope that everything comes with ease. It's like things start to come your way instead of pushing for things. Like, that's exhausting. You have more confidence in yourself. You have more self control. And that is huge for a lot of us. I don't have to say you, because I include myself in this, because this is definitely, things that I always have to keep in mind and work on. And like I said yesterday, it's not like I have arrived, it's just I'm a few steps ahead or whatever, just kind of depends on where we meet, right, in our journey. But we have to recognize the different states of emotions, hence the behaviors that come along with these modes. Self control, you're prideful, right? You stand up taller, you feel good, you're not trying to hide. I don't know how many times I've been in situations people say, I don't want my picture taken. Don't take my picture. And I sometimes think to myself, oh, that poor soul. I just feel so bad. Like, I can't even imagine being in a position, which actually I can say I've probably been there. When I was at one of my heaviest points as a teenager, I'm like, oh God, yeah, don't take my picture. Ew, like I hated how fat my face looked. Oh, all the feelings that came along with that, right? So that's also helpful to your metabolism. Okay. So just want to bring that to your attention. Hormonally, your body is going to feel better in that more rest and digest. Now, it's good to bounce between the two, just like hence the seesaw, but it's not good to always stay over here. Okay. Iron fist, right? I struggle with that sometimes myself, right? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm being extremely, and then I start feeling the, and then I'm like, okay, I need to, sometimes I have to stop in the middle of my day and say, get your fucking ass on the couch, sit for 10 minutes. Just sit, just be. And I think that actually, I don't think, I know that I've been in places in my life where I didn't want to just be. I didn't want to hear the thoughts in my mind. I didn't want to just sit there. I didn't want to do that because I was trying to emotionally detach. So I was always either shoveling food in my mouth or getting drunk, and so with that said, you have to recognize why you do some of the things you do. And that's where I come in for you, is I help you to get to root causes, like why you do the things that you do, why you eat the things that you eat, why you find yourself not being able to stop these vicious patterns that I know that a lot of us struggle with. A lot of times people will say I'm stuck. Like that is a very common word that I see all the time. Well, you're stuck in a lot more ways than one. And that is one of the biggest things that I really need for you to recognize, is that I even just said to one of the ladies that I think she's on the call right now, that our outward appearance is a manifestation basically of everything that's going on in that mind. Like, it really comes down to the mind. I mean, of course, there's obviously, like I said, the hormones and things like that, but it's the way that we operate in our life, right? It's the way that we operate in our life, hence the choices we make, meaning if we're eating or, eating good or bad, we're going to get into that in just a minute. Which creates that outcome. So just want you to start thinking along those lines and stop blaming your body for not doing what you want it to do. I'll see people saying all the time, I'm not getting the results that I want quick enough. Well, you're probably not looking at the right things. And we have to be patient. A lot of times it takes our body a little bit of time to get back to adaptation, which I didn't really bring up in this, but that is basically, our body is always looking to adapt. So a great way for you to recognize adaptation would be, I'm pretty sure that those that are watching or listening have exercised before. So let's say the first time you do a lunge, that's like when you step out with the right foot and then you bring it back, and then you step out with the left foot and you bring it back. The very first time that you do the lunge, You might be wobbly, you fall over, you go out way out to the right, like there's this stabilization issue. Well, then all of a sudden you do it again. Well, you would think that because of what happened the first time, that your body would automatically do that same thing. But no, 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 no. You have to remember the body is always looking to balance itself out. The body's always looking for that homeostasis. So what did it do? It adapted quickly. So that next rep was easier, looked better, was more balanced. Then the next rep looked even better. Do you see what I mean? So you have to remember that our body is an extremely intelligent machine, and it is so fascinating. That's why I love it so much. So it's really very cool when you shift your thinking into kind of like fascination and wonder and observation and detective work and things like that. It just changes the whole dynamic of everything. Your weight loss journey, everything. Option 2, that constant go, 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 do, do, do. I want, right? I don't want to be this uncomfortable. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be blah, 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 right? It's stressful. It's full of anxiety, fear. And a lot of times, people don't recognize that they're not changing because they're fearful of change. They're fearful of what would happen when they create this new identity. Will I still be accepted? Will I be loved the same? Crazy fucking story, but it's true. There's guilt. Oh God, I ate the cookie. Now I'm bad. Frustration, obsessiveness, like your obsession is just getting in your way. I gotta have it now. I just went out of this fat suit, right? Trust me, I know it all. As far as that goes, like, I know it all. I've been there, right? And I have to admit, having a baby at 44, trust me, I've, had some of these, said some of these words to my husband. I'm just so frustrated, you know? So obviously the body changes. The dynamic is different. You have to remember your lifestyle and all that stuff. Jealousy. And I say jealousy because you're maybe jealous of those that are achieving what you desire. Remember, I talked about that uncomfortable hallway and the success side. I talked about that last night. I talked about, those that are actually over here and succeeding and doing all that stuff, it's because they're walking through a uncomfortable hallway after uncomfortable hallway. They're not avoiding it. They're being patient. They are leaning more into that feminine energy where things are coming with ease now. They're not trying to force things. So I hope that this is resonating with you. All right. So which one are you, my friend? So option 1, you're living a lifestyle according to your personal preferences. You're mindful of your choices, yet at peace with indulgences. You feel in alignment. It feels good. It feels good. You live a life over on that success side, like that patterns of power that I talked about. Living a life moving forward instead of bouncing in between those two. And if you are just tuning into this series today, make sure that you watch the replay from last night because I talk a great deal about this. And the patterns of power is something that people are like, holy shit, I didn't realize that I was doing that. So that's more of your rest and digest kind of area. And that's when you're more in alignment, and that's when your body's more hormonally happy. And this is more of an ideal situation for weight loss and easier for you to maintain. Option 2, the feeling stuck, you're always gaining weight, blah, blah, blah. Always on a diet, the exercise more, eat less, quick fixes, pills, the whole thing. Choices feel restricted. Indulgences, they come with guilt and like you're being bad. Always sliding between the phase 1 and 2, constantly on and off the wagon, always starting over, la, 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 the whole drill. And you're constantly putting yourself in that fight or flight mode. So why on earth do you think your body, when you read this, looking at this, why in the world would your body want to allow you, for lack of better words, to lose weight? It's saying, no, no, no. It's saying, I want to do 2 things. And that is what? I want to survive and I want to reproduce. And if you're going to live your life according to this lifestyle, I am not going to release any weight because I need to survive and reproduce. Got to remember that. I hear my dog chewing on something that does not make me happy. All right. So let's talk about Goldie. Let's talk about your relationship with food. Remember, I talked about beliefs and what goes on in your mind and kind of like those apps that are running in the background, which really need to be let go of, released. New meanings need to be applied. That's why I became an NLP coach, because this does have a lot to do with why you're doing what you're doing, and hence the reason why I share a lot of this information so I can create awareness for you, because you might find yourself going, "Oh God, did I really just think that?" Right? So a lot of times the belief, that we hear is like, okay, I gotta be perfect. So that the meaning is if I'm perfect, that means I'm good. So you have to remember that we apply meanings to things. It's the meaning that we have applied to something. So this is if I'm perfect in my diet, that means I am good, right? According to my set of rules, the rule book that I created, whenever that was, that ultimately governs my life and my decisions. Okay. If I fall off track, that means I am bad. And that's why I must start over. The whole good, bad, the whole shit show, right? Perfect or a shit show. I did it for half of my life. It's ridiculous. So by that logic, then that would mean that there is only one way of eating and thinking, which is everything has to be good and perfect all the time. Now, I don't know about you, but that would be extremely exhausting. Uh, you know, and that would be like forever and ever and ever, amen, and for the rest of your life, because according to that belief system, I'm good and perfect. But if I have a piece of pizza or a french fry or a cookie or a donut, I've ruined it all. That would mean like there's no indulgences ever, because according to that belief, right, means I'm bad. So then if I'm bad, that means that I've screwed everything up. So that means that there's no results. And that is a fucking lie. It's not true. So stop it right now. Do you hear me? Stop it. You can have whatever it is that you desire as long as it feels good to you, right? It doesn't mean that if you had a damn cookie that it's going to ruin everything and that you have to start over. It doesn't. Years and years ago, I specifically remember this conversation. If I didn't share this, I'm a former binge drinker, binge eater, binge everything, right? Like everything had to be just like, right? So I was in my 20s teaching aerobics. I taught, I can't even tell you how many aerobics classes I taught, because I was taught for so many years. But at this time, sometimes I was teaching 3 classes a day. It was ridiculous, eating a potato. What? Okay. And I remember talking to this gentleman that worked with me at the time, and I was just telling him like, God, if there's these cookies in front of me, I can't stop. I just can't stop. And it was just interesting how he just said one thing to me and it clicked. And all he said was, Kelly, just have a bite and put it down. And it was so weird, because I am sure that there have been many other people that have said that to me, but for whatever reason, I was more open and flexible in my thinking. And that really, really changed everything for me, because I thought, well, yeah, why can't I just have a bite and put it down? That's just ridiculous, not being able to do that. Like, I don't need to have a whole bag of cookies, and I don't need to have half the pie, and I don't need to, you know, and but at the end of the day, understanding what was really going on was that I was out of control. I was out of control in so many areas of my life. Are you hearing me? So being out of control in every place of my life at that time, I was way out of control with my eating, but then I felt like I could control it when I would, purge and exercise like a crazy lady. So there was this craziness going on. And there's no question that I have kickback from that I created metabolic dysfunction within myself, from those things. Oops, I just went backwards. I don't know why I did that. Okay. So your nutritional foundation, let's move forward here. All right. So nutritional foundation, there's a couple different approaches here that I'm going to share with you. So I am very strong into the way that food makes you feel, right? Because I want you to think along the lines of, I eat this, the hormones are going to affect me in this way. Therefore, I am affected by, my hunger is going to be affected. My energy is going to be affected. My cravings, my sleep, my mood, right? So that's oops, I forgot to put the H in there. Schmack. I typically just go by the hunger, energy, and cravings, but as I mentioned before, my mentor uses schmack, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to throw this in here. So I really should have an H in there that should say schmack. But my clients, we definitely monitor their sleep and their mood and their thoughts and thinking and things like that. But on a daily, on a, like every single day, they have reminders and such where they're always checking in on their hunger, energy, and cravings. So that's very intuitive, right? That's a very intuitive thing. So you're thinking, you're feeling, you're asking yourself, okay, am I really hungry? Is my stomach growling? If you're hungry, there is a hormone called ghrelin that is going to make your stomach growl. So remember that. Remember, I told you that there's leptin that's in the brain, and that basically is the brake pedal to say, hey, I've had enough, stop feeding me. And then there's ghrelin, where your stomach is actually growling. So sometimes my son will say to me, Mom, can I have whatever? After he's just had a big plate of spaghetti or something. I'm like, okay, well, is your stomach actually growling? And he'll have to stop for a second and say, you know what? It actually isn't. So I'm saying, okay, well, that's just a head hunger. So what just went on that made you want to grab food? Maybe he had a bad conversation with a friend. Maybe he feels tired. Maybe he thought about a test that he has to take. So it triggered him to want to eat. Do you understand? So when you start to do that kind of detective work and you start to focus on these things, then trust me, it's going to be a big game changer for you. Okay. So the food groups that I recommend that you focus on, and again, this is not about being perfect. This is not about not having any junk food or being, perfect or a shit show. But these are your main groups that you really want to focus on. And this is what I want to share, because these are the foods that are going to keep the inflammation down. And these are also the foods that are going to speak to you positively on a hormonal level. So your proteins, like your meats, right? So you want to keep those nice and clean, like you want to have like your chicken and your lean beef and things like that. You don't want to lean into like a lot of like salamis and bacons and that kind of stuff. Non-starchy vegetables. So a lot of times people will say, well, what does that mean? Like what's a starchy vegetable versus a non-starchy vegetable? So some examples of non-starchy vegetables would be like asparagus and green beans, and yeah, I think green beans. I should have a list in front of me, but you want to make sure that you're eating vegetables that are not um super starchy. Like starchy vegetables, maybe I'll go that route. Starchy vegetables would be like carrots, um more of your potatoes. And I do have plain potatoes here, but I mean more so your Yukon, but you want to have like lighter bites of those. But your non-starchier vegetables, so those are not going to be affecting you, meaning like creating these crazy insulin spikes. Okay, and there's a massive list, and you could just even Google online non-starchy vegetables, right? Non-starchy fruits. So your non-starchy fruits, that's pretty simple. It's basically your berries. And apples are great. Apples are fucking phenomenal. Berries, awesome. You can never go wrong with them. So, with my house, we always have like strawberries, blueberries, sometimes blackberries and raspberries, but there's always berries and apples. Bananas are starchy, you guys. So you want to really kind of keep that on the down low. People are like, what do you mean my bananas? you know Again, it's going to vary from person to person, so you really need to do what you need to listen to your hunger, energy, and cravings and see what the banana actually does for you. um, if you do have some of your like starchier things like the plain rice and the plain potatoes and such, I put those in there because you want to just keep those in smaller portions and just like bites, like maybe 10 bites. Okay. So think of the number 10 when it comes to like your potatoes and your rice. And I say plain because you don't necessarily want to butter it up or sour cream it up, just kind of put some seasonings on it, sea salt, things like that. And then vinegars and spices. So vinegars would be like when it comes to your salad dressings and such, you want to make sure that you're leaning more towards dressings that are not cream based, but more of your vinegar based. Vinegar is great, super great. I like my dressing to be like kind of tart. My salad dressing, I'll tell you how I make it. I always eyeball everything, but it's extra virgin olive oil with red wine vinegar or sometimes apple cider vinegar, but that's usually the base. And then always more vinegar than the oil. And then I put in some oregano, sea salt, pepper, garlic powder, and lemon juice. And then I just mix it and then I just kind of taste it how I like it, you know? See, Pavlov, I'm thinking of see how the brain, remember I talked about this yesterday? If I think about a certain thing, my mouth will water. So maybe something for you, if you think of vinegar, maybe your mouth is watering too, right? Okay. So then also too, make sure that you have a favorite food that you like that might not necessarily be good, right? Like you might classify it. And again, I want you to just shift the meanings of these things that you have, right? So your favorite food and just work your way into having it once a week. So if pizza is your favorite food, chow on it once a week. Doesn't mean go have a whole pizza. It just means enjoy it. And if you, excuse me, if you choose to eat it, there's no guilt. Yep, I made the choice, onward. That's it. Right now, if you start to realize, let me take a drink of water here. If you start to realize like that favorite food isn't so favorite anymore because, you know, 85% of the time you're eating these foods that feel great, you're hormonally balanced, your hunger, energy, and cravings constantly in check, you're not inflamed, everything feels amazing. And then you eat, you know, your favorite food, and then it makes you ache and look like you got hit by a bag of nickels. That's what I always say because my face just like, you know. And then also foods that have a label, and I'm going to teach you a little trick on that. Okay. So you're going to keep it simple. Think S's, salads, stir fries, scrambles, and shakes. Okay. And this little thing here, I've learned this from my mentor. I've learned a lot of great things from him. And this really, when you are really trying to make a shift, like I said yesterday, if it walks around, swims around, or comes from the ground, that is what you want to focus on. And shakes, I say that with hesitation. And this is why, because I tend to feel like shakes are used improperly. You know, sometimes shakes can be used as, you know, I got to have this shake. I got to get my weight down, da, da, and then nothing's maintainable, right? So I just want you to look at shakes as like, you know, like a snack, you know, a buffer for you, meaning like, well, you know, when I drive home, I don't necessarily, you know, I'm starving, but I don't want to necessarily stop at the drive through, but I need something that's going to stop me from doing that. Well, a shake is a great thing. So having a shake, for example, as a buffer is great. Utilizing a shake maybe for a snack is great. Having a shake after a workout is great. Okay. But having shakes all day long is not great. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So BAS, what the hell does that stand for? So BAS stands for big ass salad. And this is just something that I learned from another gal in the industry. And I just think she's fantastic. And she talked about, you know, the fact that there's one thing that she will always have every single day. And that one thing is a BAS, and that's a big ass salad. So the bigger, the better. And I do the same. And it is fantastic, right? It feels good. And also, I'm gone again. God dang it. Ugh. Hold on. I just got a message saying that I'm gone again. Boo. Let's see. Let me go back to the Facebook group. Okay. All right. So, can somebody tell me if I'm on or not? Can you see me? Can somebody message in the Facebook group? I'm back. Okay, I'm back. Woo! Okay. Yay, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna press play here. So the big ass salad. So we're leaning into the big ass salads. Now here is the thing. I mentioned the brain yesterday a little bit, and part of the problem that we have. Thank you so much, Kristen. By the way, is that we are not making our foods colorful enough. If I'm looking at a bowl of all green, that does not excite me. I need a little bit of excitement. I know that I'm a dopamine kind of a chick. I need that kind of woo, you know? So make sure that your food is colorful. Next, stir fries, right? Have fun with stir fries. It's interesting because I've been doing a lot of stir fries with my family, and it's just been fun to come up with the different combinations and textures and stuff like that. And that's the thing, is that you really just need to make sure that you're having fun with food. Super, super important. Next, scrambles. So scrambles would be, like when it comes to eggs or, things like that. Um, and just making things again colorful, using different kinds of proteins and such. And scrambles very, very similar to stir fries. I do realize that, but scrambles most of the time, if you're an egg person, then obviously you can use egg whites as a great base. They taste like nothing, and you can add all kinds of yumminess. And then shakes, right? So you can have fun with these too, but these can also be dangerous, just like salads. You have to be super, super, super conscientious. Keeping it simple, sister, is what I always say, right? So then there's this right here, right? This would be like the kind of food that you would have one time a week. But let me just share something. If you decide that you're going to have your favorite food, you have to have the awareness that it will more than likely create triggers and cravings. But if you're aware of it, then you know how to handle it. So let's say, for example, if I have, trying to think what does that to me, Cheetos and Doritos. Like, I love those things, right? Doritos, they were always like just something I would have. Like, my parents really didn't always buy that stuff, but when I did have it, I was like, oh yeah, the cheesy, salty. But if I have Doritos, I want more and more and more, and then I want more and more and more of it the next day, because it creates something in my brain. My palate then becomes adjusted to wanting more of that. So you have to remember that when it comes to specific foods, especially things that are like salt, fat oriented, starch oriented, you are going to be craving more of that. So just have that awareness. So, huge thing with all of my clients, I knew that after the holidays, like after the Thanksgiving dinner, after the Christmas dinner, all that stuff, that I was going to hear, I've had a bad week. I just can't stop eating the stuffing. The leftovers are here, all of that stuff. And I always tell them, like, listen, give yourself a little bit of grace. Now you understand what that particular food does to you. Now you understand the rebound effect. Now you understand that that's going to come. Now it's just a matter of choice. And that's where the real growth comes in. Hey, if you're choosing to eat it, fine, but just know that, it's your choice, and if there is a consequence or if it's delaying results, then it's because you chose to make that choice. Make sense? Okay, so I hope all of this is making sense. Now, this is going to be life changing for you. This is a magical formula that I use with my clients. And this is something that I use with them when it comes to foods that have a label. Because a lot of times we are eating foods, first of all, we're eating way too many things that come in a box and all of that canned and blah, blah, blah. So, what I want to share with you is just a little formula, and I'm just going to keep it simple for you. So, what you're going to do is when you look at a food label, you're going to take the total amount of carbs, you're going to minus the fiber, then minus the protein, and any sugar, sugar, alcohol, not sugars, but sugar, alcohol. And after you do that calculation, the number should be a number 10 or less, or negatives are actually best. So, you're probably thinking, huh? Right? So if we look at this label here, so half of a cup of whatever this is, okay, it provides 3 carbohydrates, 3 fibers, and 3 proteins. I do not see any sugar, alcohol anyway. So 3 minus 3 minus 3 is a negative, right? So woo, we're good. We're not going to have any kind of, I call this the hormonal carbohydrate response. Now, let's say, for an example, let's say this particular label said 33 carbs, 3 fiber, 3 protein. Then that would be what? 33 minus 3 is 30. then we'd have 3 protein to deduct. So that gives us what? The number 27. That is not the number 10. It's nowhere near the number 10. It's almost 3 times the number 10. So then what would we do in this scenario? What would we do? We basically have 2 options. So if you want to take a stab at it, what would you do in this situation? You're reading the label, you're like, okay, I need the number after I do the math per serving to be a 10. The number's 27. Anybody want to take a stab? All right. You have 2 options. You could say, forget this shit, or you could have a third of a serving. You just divide it by 3. So what would a third of a half cup be? Probably almost nothing. So an example would be, I remember one of my clients had messaged me about this, some kind of trail mix or something. And by the time we did the math and all that, she was like, oh, this is so not worth it. It would be like a teaspoon, right? You know? So I brought down a couple of things. So these are called Mary's Gone crackers. And one serving is 12 crackers. The total carbohydrates per 12 crackers is 20. The fiber is 3. There's no sugar alcohol. And then there's 4 grams of protein. So what would that be? So 12 crackers gives me 20 minus 3 is 17 minus 4 gives me 13. 12 crackers, 13. I need it to be a 10. So then what I would do is just have maybe 9 crackers. Does that make sense? Okay. So I hope that this is making sense to you. This is going to help you a lot, because I'm telling you, you're probably eating way more starch than you realize, and you're being affected hormonally. So this thing here is going to help you. And you could be somebody that is leaning into eating a lot of processed foods, meaning that they come in a box or some kind of form of that, and you're not fully in to eating all your fresh fruits and vegetables and shopping around the edges and eating, if it, the things that come from the ground, swim around or walk around. You need that formula in your life. And I want you to tell me how this works for you. I love feedback. Okay. All right. So if you're a numbers person, I'm going to help you out here too. Those of you that coach with me, you know that I don't really do numbers unless you want specific macro coaching. I am also a macro coach. But most of my programs and my one-on-one coaching and things like that usually always lean into your more intuitive. Then if one of my clients decides like, hey, you know what? I understand the foods that feel good don't feel good. And now I want to kind of lean into numbers because they enjoy numbers. Totally cool. Sometimes we'll go that route and I'll do a caloric breakdown for them. Now, I have another formula that I use, but this is something that is super simple that you could use also. So if you're a numbers person, what you can do is you can do this calculation. You just take your body weight and you times it by 10. So if you are 180 pounds, times it by 10, and that gives you what? 1,800. You would then, and this is a weight loss kind of a formula, but again, every body is different. This is just a generalization. Okay. Then you would break that down. So if you're like a MyFitnessPal person and you like to do the numbers and all that stuff, you would do 30 grams of protein, 40, or excuse me, not 30, 30% protein, 40% carbs, 30% fat. So it's a 30, 40, 30 ratio. So I hope that makes sense. Boy, that was hysterical. I don't know anybody that would eat 30 grams of protein. Maybe my daughter. She's 30 pounds. Okay. All right. So I hope all that made sense to you. So I know I just dumped a lot of information on you when it came to this nutrition stuff, but I'm pretty sure that you get it and that you're like, okay, so I'm trying to help shift your mind into what? How your body is affected hormonally, how foods make you feel. You have choices, you have beliefs, you have these systems or belief systems in your mind that are governing decisions, and you're, then creating the state of mind, then creating this physiology, which hence, affects your behaviors and choices and outcomes. So there's a lot that goes into you. There's a lot more to making the desired changes that you desire. It's not as easy as somebody just saying, here, take this meal plan. It doesn't work. So why do you keep putting yourself in that same situation? It's just suffering. It's like people choose these things that they know don't work, and then they just choose to suffer because I think they believe that they're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just not choosing the right thing for you, or you're focusing on the wrong things, right? All right. So that's it, my friends. That is day 2. I am so incredibly sorry for the interruptions with the internet or whatever the hell was happening. I have no idea. Absolutely ridiculous. It drives me crazy when that kind of stuff happens. So I appreciate you sticking around. I appreciate you, tolerating that little interruption. I really, really, really hope that you found this information valuable. I hope that you were able to have some awesome takeaways and that you're able to apply these things immediately. I would really, really love some feedback and letting me know when you are like having these aha moments. I know, like I said last night, I literally had 4 people message me like right after the call saying, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Or, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Or, oh my gosh, I need more help than I thought, or, so the more feedback that you are able to provide, the better, because that's how I'm better able to serve you, as I had mentioned yesterday. So please don't be shy. Please make sure that you share your struggles, what you're going through, and all of that stuff, because I'm here and happy to help. We have one more day of this series, and that is tomorrow. I'm super excited to share that. And tomorrow, I don't know if I have my notes. Oh, yeah, I do have my notes right here. So tomorrow, I'd like to just talk about a lot of things when it comes to your habits and, all that kind of goodness. So just, I hope that you are able to join us. And thanks so much again for coming tonight. And again, I want you to congratulate yourself and really give yourself a pat on the back for taking the time to listen, because this is great brain food for you. And I'm just super excited for you to take these little nuggets of information and apply it to your life. So thanks so much again. I am honored, and we'll see you tomorrow.